What is up, everybody? Sporting Sith here with you. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. We are in between Christmas and New Year right now, and it's a weekend, and I'm enjoying my time, and I got something new for you guys. I'm going to be doing a movie series ranking. I'm going to be ranking the Planet of the Apes movie series. It's a movie series that I've enjoyed ever since I was a kid. I remember watching it back when I was very young. I don't know, back when HBO first started, and then it just popped up on there somehow, some way, and I ended up watching a couple of those movies through that, and then just moved on. And as I got older, then you got the 2001 Planet of the Apes, and then you had the Caesar trilogy, as most people call it, that has just come out recently in the last 10 to 15 years, which is a phenomenal trilogy. But in all honesty, I've enjoyed this movie series ever since I've been a little kid, and with the coming out of Memorial Day, with the most recent Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rank all 9 of the current Planet of the Apes movies, 9 through 1. And these are just my opinion. These are how I would rank them. It's not necessarily going off of any type of internet sources or anything like that. This is just, I own all the movies. I've watched them all many, many times. They are seriously, truly a joy to sit back and watch. I really enjoy just sitting back watching them. You can get into them. You can really dive deep and get into it deep, or you can just kind of have a little mindless viewing of it, because it is very interesting. Some movies are a little bit deeper than others, but in all honesty, it's a whole movie series that I highly recommend watching. So with that, I'm going to get into my ranking of all 9 Planet of the Apes movies. At number 9, I gotta go with 2001 Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Not gonna lie, this is probably the only movie in the entire series that I probably would have no problem not watching ever again. I don't think Tim Burton is very good. I don't really care for any of the stuff he comes out with. I personally think he's a hack, but that's my opinion. I just don't think he's very good. I don't think any of the stuff, other than maybe the Batman, other than that stuff, but that's a dark, brooding comic in general. So for Tim Burton to take that and do what he did with that, of course, that makes sense. But some of his other remakes, not good, and this goes right up there, not good. Moving on, number 8, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I didn't mind Battle, but for me, it's down at the bottom, just because it was, as the original 5 movies were made, if I'm not mistaken, each budget was less than the movie prior to it. So you get into Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and you get into a really low budget. They didn't really have a lot to work with. Sure, the acting was great. The story was great. It's just, it was just that's one of the harder watches for me, just because but it does actually, War reminds me of Battle, and Battle reminds me of War, just because of the huge war scene that goes on. So you can't deny that it does have some interesting qualities, and it does have a lot of action to it. Moving on to number 7. Here's why I have Escape for the Planet of the Apes. I don't really want to rank this that low, but my reason for ranking it down at 7 is I just felt like Escape from the Planet of the Apes was just a little bit too campy. It was a good storyline, and I think it could have been done a lot better. Having Cornelius and Zira, and they end up having Milo, who they end up changing the name to Caesar in the next movie. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. I just didn't like all the the whole makeover session and all this stuff, and they put them up on a pedestal of everything, and I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, I just thought it was just a little bit too campy, in my opinion. Moving on to number 6, War for the Planet of the Apes. I love the new Caesar trilogy. I love the Caesar trilogy. I love hearing the stories of where they're going with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm loving everything that they're doing with it. Everything that I've heard so far has been fantastic. I have had no complaints with what I've heard so far. War for the Planet of the Apes was a great ending to the Caesar trilogy. Of course, I would have liked to have a little bit more of the of the battle, so to speak. I mean, it was called War for the Planet of the Apes, and it just seemed like everything came to a head, and it was done in 5 minutes. And then the avalanche came through and wiped everything out. But I really, really like how the story was told. Woody Harrelson was amazing. And of course, all the actors, all the ape actors were just fantastic. I like how they basically got the apes to the Forbidden Zone. So if you think about it, back in the original 5, when they talk about the Forbidden Zone, it's almost like a deserted area, like a desert. So if you look at War, it's almost like they're pushing inland from California, from San Francisco. It's almost like they're pushing inland. That's why it's so snowy, because they're in the mountains of the snow ranges of the mountains, and so it's so snowy up there. And then they get over top of the mountains, and they get to the other side, and it's desert, which was fantastic. So I think that's a perfect place to put the Forbidden Zone, and to line that up where everything past that is where the apes inhabit, and anything where the Caesar trilogy comes from is outside of the Forbidden Zone, and that's where they don't want them to go. With that being said, we're going to move on to number 5, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. This movie gets a lot of criticism. I understand why. The first half of this movie is pretty much a straight retelling of the original 1968 Planet of the Apes. And then the second half, you have these zombie, mutant, I guess not zombie because they're not like undead, but just mutant humans that are worshiping this atom bomb, which is all good, which is all fine. I like how they went real sci-fi with that. I have no problem with how sci-fi they actually went with it. I just kind of wish they would have led into that a little bit sooner, rather than wasting half the movie retelling what the first movie basically told. So that's my only complaint with that. That is why I have that in 5. Other than that, I think the movie is really good. Number 4, I have Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Rise was fantastic. I loved everything about it. I really, really liked how it told the backstory of Caesar, how they utilized so many names from the original series, the original movies, which I thought was great. Caesar is an original movie. Bright Eyes, they used the word Bright Eyes to name his mom. His mom was named Bright Eyes, which is what Zira names Charlton Heston's character in the original. So I really like how they really kind of played it off, and they made it almost kind of parallel to the original movie while telling their own story, and I really liked the way that was done. Moving on to number 3, I have Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. This was this was the first Planet of the Apes movie that I ever watched, and I thought this was phenomenal. The way they have the ape slave labor, and this is where the cats and dogs are basically extinct. So they utilize apes to do a lot of slave labor. This is the uprising of Caesar, who was taken on by Ricardo Montalban. I think it was. I'll have to double check that, but his character takes on Caesar and tries to hide him and keep him safe. But then all of a sudden they realize that he can talk, and so he basically rises up and takes over and starts the ape mutiny, if you will, and really gets them going in that direction of how the Planet of the Apes truly started come to be, which is exactly what happened in Rise with Caesar taking over in the ape sanctuary and kind of doing it like that. But I really liked Conquest. Number 2, the original 1968 Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes. This is a phenomenal movie. Everything is almost perfect with this movie. Just the way everything was done, the way they told the story, how they crash land on this planet that they believe is a different planet. Come to find out they're 3,000 years into the future, and they come to find that apes are running this planet that they're on, while humans are mute, and which is perfect because then they played it into when Charlton Heston gets hurt. They hurt his throat, where his buddy ends up getting caught, and they basically lobotomize him and try to see what was in his mind and try and see what they can do to these humans. And eventually he talks, eventually he escapes, and eventually he makes it to the one of the greatest endings, twist endings of of cinematic history, where he is walking along the beach, jumps off the horse and "Damn you all to hell," and pounds his fists into the sand. As it pans backwards, then the Statue of Liberty is there in the sand. So he's basically talking about how they really they blew it up, how they destroyed it and blew it up, basically, which is kind of in a way could be taken different ways. Was it a nuclear war that destroyed the planet, and that's why the Statue of Liberty is located where it's at? Was it the bomb that he ends up setting off at the end of Beneath that ends up destroying the planet and setting in this course of motion of things? But it's really a great story, phenomenal movie. And if there's one movie to watch in this entire series, it's definitely the original 1968 Planet of the Apes. Leaving us with only one movie remaining, and my top movie of the 9, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. For me, it was by far the best movie in the entire series. The way they set up the colonies, the way they have the ape colony, the way Caesar is in charge, what happens with Koba, and Koba, and like how advanced the apes truly are, that Koba actually shoots Caesar's son and blames it on the humans. Like, he's smart enough to set the humans up in a way because he wanted to fight. He wanted to take the humans out. He wanted apes to rule the world, and he didn't want any interaction with any humans, and he didn't want any interference with any humans. So the way that Koba sets that up is phenomenal. You really get a sense into Caesar's family. Now he's basically has a partner now. He has kids now. Everything is just really working out, and it's really moving forward, and it's moving forward in a pace that is sustainable and not unrealistic. And so, especially when you look at the lifespan of chimpanzees and apes, which is about 50 years or so. So if you think about when these movies were made, I mean, it only was a couple years from rise until war. So it's not like Caesar was very old when he was killed. So he still had a long life ahead of him when he was killed at the end of war. So looking at that grand scheme of things, especially with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes coming up on Memorial Day, that's supposedly set 300 to 400 years in the future after War for the Planet of the Apes. So if you think about 50 years being a maximum, I don't want to say a maximum, but 50 years being an old ape, an old chimpanzee, an old ape, you're looking at, 7, 8, 9 generations of apes that have evolved once Kingdom comes along since War for the Planet of the Apes. So those are my 9. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you stuck around for the whole thing. Please, as always, I really enjoy doing this. It's one thing that I really truly enjoy. I love the Planet of the Apes series. All 9 movies are great, maybe with the exception of the 2001 movie. That might be the only movie that I probably would not watch. But I would never recommend somebody to not watch a movie or to watch a movie. Well, I could recommend anybody to watch a movie, but I would never recommend somebody to not watch a movie. But in my own opinion, it's probably the only movie in the whole series I would not watch. Other than that, thank you for joining me. Hope you liked what you saw. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's all free. It seriously, it tugs at my heartstrings every time I see a new subscription, every time I see a new like, every time I see a new comment. I really truly appreciate it. And go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, share the video. Let me know, even if you don't like what I'm doing, let me know in the comments. Let me know what I can do better. And hopefully we're going to be seeing some more of this kind of content going forward. I know I have some other things in the works, and I'm going to be going live here probably in the next couple days. So please, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, seriously. And as always, have a great night, and may the sports be with you.